And sometimes many of us don't want to admit that the place that we grew up is not the best for certain things. And as much as I hate to admit this, kind of have no choice but to admit it because it is the truth. The number one reason why I choose not to do food delivery services where I grew up, where I was born, raised, I wasn't born there, but I was raised there, and I give a lot of my life to, is because, unfortunately, it is my number one area for tip baiting. For those that do not know, my name is Ash, and I'm a gig worker here in Montreal, Quebec, and I do food delivery services for Uber Eats, for DoorDash, for Skip the Dishes, and even sometimes for Instacart grocery orders. Now, in the market that I live in, which is the South Shore, we have the markets here: Longueuil, St. Lambert, Brossard, Greenfield Park, and St. Hubert. Now, there's even more, but those are my main districts. So basically, this market as a whole is definitely an Uber Eats dominant market. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of Uber Eats orders, and as a gig worker, I gotta go where the orders go. Now, the problem with Uber Eats is they allow for clients to do what's called tip baiting, which means you fulfill an order, you think everything went fine and dandy, you saw the amount, you saw the tip, and they revoked it. Now, only Uber Eats allows this to happen, and in the United States, Grubhub allows that to happen. But in my market, as you can see, I need to be on Uber Eats because it's more saturated with Uber Eats deliveries, but at the same time, there's a domino effect of being tip baited. Now, I have completed around 1,000 deliveries with Uber Eats. Out of those 1,000 deliveries, I would say I've been tip baited at least 15 to 20 times. Now, where the statistic narrowed down is the fact that out of those 15 to 20 tip baits that I've received, about 7 or 8 of them, maybe even 9, have been from the Greenfield Park region, which is where I grew up. Nowadays, you have the old Greenfield Park and you have the new Greenfield Park. And I was raised in the old Greenfield Park area, and it was definitely more of a middle class area, and still to this day, it can be classified as middle class. Now, unfortunately speaking, it is the place where I get tip baited the most, but it's also the place where I get the lowest offers. On average, in the Greenfield Park region, if I was to accept an order, on average, they're about $7 or $8 a piece per order. Now, that's not the worst compared to videos that I've seen of drivers accepting $4 or $5 orders, but that's definitely not in the ballpark that I would like to be in. Now, what makes the matters worse about the $7 to $8 per order is the fact of where I gotta go to get these orders. So if you're in the Greenfield Park region, it's a lot of school district, it's a lot of, it's definitely suburban, quiet streets, etc. And in order to get to the main boulevard or the restaurants are, you gotta drive at least 5 to 6 kilometers. If you want to get to the more smaller restaurants, you're looking at about 3 or 4 kilometers. So because of that, there's definitely a distance that needs to be traveled. Now, let's say I'm on the boulevard and I grab an order and it's for the Greenfield Park area and I'm getting $8 as the offer. It's a good chance I'm going to have to drive 5 or 6 kilometers to drop off that food, but then because there's no restaurants around, I got to drive 5 or 6 kilometers to get back to the boulevard. And it doesn't matter if I'm going up towards the St. Hubert area, if I'm coming down going to Longueuil, or even if I'm going towards the Brossard district. All 3 areas are going to take me 5 or 6 kilometers. So let's do the quick math here. $8 for 6 kilometers to drop off and 6 kilometers to drive back, that's about 12 kilometers. So right there, what's happening is I'm using more gas than I am getting more dollars, and because of that, I'm actually going to lose out on money. Now, on top of being tip baited, on top of losing out on money, on top of being way too far from the restaurants, there's one other factor that is involved, and that's the order volume. Because of the fact that you're in an area where there's no restaurants nearby, there's even no big grocery stores for Instacart orders or such, you have now allowed yourself to not get those orders. Because every single time I was in the Greenfield Park area, and if I would drive around, no orders would come in. I would get to the boulevard, you would get an order because it's a drop-off location, and then you could, secure an order. But Uber Eats does not want to pay you to go to the boulevard, to go back. They're not going to do that. So they're going to offer it to the drivers that are already amongst the boulevards for the restaurants. And because of that, you think you're a sitting duck in the summer slowdown. You're more of a sitting duck if you're doing deliveries where I grew up. That's 100%. Now, my question for you, lovelies, is do you deliver in the hometown that you grew up? Whether you call it a sub-region, a region, a hometown, whatever it may be, I want you to comment below and let me know. Unfortunately speaking, even though I grew up there and I loved it there, I cannot do deliveries in that market anymore. There's just too much dominoes stacked against me. But I want to know if you do. Comment below and let me know, and I'll catch you lovelies in the next video.